discussion that is titled, Is Your Relationship / Marriage a House or a Duplex? And this, honestly, the thought process of the room could go in a million different directions. And because I'm not one that needs to be correct or right on anything, I am here with a purpose of getting the conversation started. So if you are joining me here on Facebook, please feel free to drop any comments or questions that you have in the chat. The same with Instagram. Hey, Official D-Sense, how you doing? Good to see you. And anyone who is here on Clubhouse, please feel free to ping people into the room and come on up on stage, or use that new chat feature that we have and be an interactive part of the discussion. So I am Kanya. You can call me Coach K. I am a life coach and a certified sexologist. And while I do work with women to understand, acknowledge their value, self-worth, as well as setting personal boundaries. And I do this through self-love, accountability, and truly showing you that how to own your sexuality. Because we have to understand that as women, when we own our sexuality, we truly show up differently in the world, and we are less likely to be wavered in our decisions and the things that we want, need, and desire. I also do work with the couples with building trust, helping with bridge that gap in communication. And tonight is a great example of all of those things, all sworn up into one. So what do I mean by, is your relationship or marriage a house or a duplex? I want you to think about the structure of a house. You think about most houses, you can walk in and out of rooms freely. You have doors that open, you turn a knob and go in. You know, somebody might lock it, but eventually you can get in that door. The house has outer walls. So before you actually go outside, you can maneuver inside of the house freely. Most times you even have an attached garage. So you can even just go into the garage as you want to. So you can completely maneuver around a house as needed without many barriers. The walls that are there, hey, you just go around them and you can go into a different room. So now that we talked about the structure of a house, let's talk about the structure of a duplex. So a duplex is just that. It is technically two houses that have been put together as one, with a solid wall dividing the two. So a duplex, in order to gain access to the full duplex, you have to walk outside of the door, go to the next door, and go into it. That's if the person allows you to come in. You see where I'm going here? Really quickly, I'm going to shut this window because I do have the family playing outside and I don't want them to get too loud. So you see where I'm going here with the description. So a duplex, if you go over to that solid wall in order to go to the next building, you're going to just keep hitting a brick wall, right? No one wants to hit a brick wall. If you wanted to break through that wall to get to the other side, it's going to take you some time to, break through that barrier wall in order to get to the other side. And so we have this house that we can freely move into, and any room that we want to get into, any part of this structure that we want to get into, we can freely go into, with the exception of a few house doors that we can unlock, or just, as moms, we just bust in doors if we want to, or dads. Whereas with a duplex, you have a solid barrier wall that is stopping you from getting to all areas of the structure. And so when I think of that, my first question is, are you someone that is in a relationship that is living with barriers that are hard to get through? And I can honestly say that there is a vast majority of relationships and marriages that we do that. We have those barriers. Most of the time, the barriers start within ourselves, although we do like to say that it is the other party. And yes, sometimes it is, don't get me wrong. That barrier is the main structure wall that separates the duplex. So are you living in one side and your partner's living on the other, and you all want to get to each other, but there's this barrier that is preventing you from getting to each other unless you take it to outside and then come together. But let me tell you, well, of course, I'll go further into coming on the outside to get together. So when I think about that barrier, I then ask, is this compromise? Is this sacrifice? Or is this avoidance of conversations? Typically, it is going to be one of those three, if not all three. And inside of a marriage, many times we go from an apartment, and I'm talking in metaphor, we go from an apartment, those apartments, we go into this house, and then we immediately turn that house into a duplex. What do I mean by that? I've coached many clients, and I'm also in a few groups on Facebook where this same topic comes up over and over and over. And some of the questions that are asked, it automatically places my visual of that relationship in a duplex. And the question is this: why is the first year of marriage so hard? Does it get better? I don't understand why is that things are so hard in this first year of marriage. And I typically will give the same response each and every time, because this is generally true, not just in my professional opinion, but in my personal experience. The first 5 to 7 years of any marriage is going to be your duplex years, unless you recognize that you have created a duplex and you turn it into a house. Let's talk about what it looks like to be in a house, because I'm going to let that part marinate and we're going to jump back to that. Let's talk about what it looks like when our relationship is a house. So when our relationship is a house, we can easily maneuver internally. We typically have open conversations. We usually are choosing our battles that matter. And when I say that matter, I don't mean choose the battle that matters to the other person. If it is something that matters to you, it is worth having a conversation about. When you're in the house, you are finding compromise. And I want us to stop confusing compromise and sacrifice, because we just think everything is such a sacrifice, and sacrifice has such a negative connotation to it that we just feel like we're just giving up everything. No, when you're in a marriage, compromise is necessary. That's what it looks like when your relationship is a house. You're finding those compromises in that structure. When your relationship is a house, you lean on each other. You don't have to go outside the walls. You lean on each other to work through and accomplish things. And you also are ready to seek unbiased professional guidance when there are avenues that you're unfamiliar with that you two need to navigate. That's what it looks like when the relationship is that of a house. And as you remember, when I first started, I talked about the maneuverability of being in a house. So what does it look like when the relationship is a duplex? When the relationship is of a duplex, you must go externally to get to each other. So you are seeking that guidance externally. You open your relationship up to any and everybody's opinion. When you have a relationship that is a duplex, you are more divided. You put yourself on one side of the wall or the other. In a duplex, you avoid conversations, whether they matter to you or not, you avoid them. And when you do that, you begin to make assumptions. Assumptions will destroy not just you, but it will destroy any and every relationship that you remotely want to create. And I don't just mean romantically, not just with your husband or your wife or your partner or your spouse. I mean work, family, your children. You will destroy it when you make assumptions. And typically, I see somebody's raising their hand and trying to come up, and then unraising it. So, and I'm not sure if you are looking to come up or not, but I'm more than happy to have you come up. I don't know if it's Clubhouse that's acting up or not. So the reason why I said that this topic is super important to me is because I know those troubles that we go through, especially really early on in our relationship. We truly live our relationship through a duplexed structure because we are afraid of speaking up on things that we should speak up on in that first year. So when I get a client, or I see in the groups, people asking the question, oh, why is that first year so hard? Well, it's so hard because we are genuinely afraid of just having conversations that we should have when we're getting to know someone. And yes, even in your first year of marriage, you're still getting to know each other because you're now getting to know that person as your marital partner versus just your girlfriend or your boyfriend. There is a difference. Now, while that person may have worked really hard to build up those bonds and build up those trusts, I can assure you that usually everything that you could know about your future partner, you may not have learned because of that mindset of duplex that we often walk into that first year of a relationship in. We don't understand, and we can't always distinguish the difference of a compromise, a sacrifice, and avoidance. And understanding that they almost go hand in hand. When you are living in that avoidance place, you truly are living that duplex life. There we go. So I encourage you all to sit back, take a full view of your relationship, and ask yourself, am I living my relationship in a house, or am I living my relationship in a duplex? And if you're living it in a duplex, then you need to look at that barrier wall, and you need to see what are those barriers? What is it that I'm avoiding? What is it that I am placing this barrier between myself and my partner that I have now vowed to be with on a long-term committed, healthy, and happy basis that I can't get past? And many of this goes back to a lack of trust from within. We don't always trust ourselves with someone or with our own intentions. We don't trust ourselves in our decisions that we make. How many times have you picked out a dress and then you just question yourself, or you said, I want to go to this place, and then you're like, well, do I really want this place to eat? We question ourselves on so many levels. And so now you're adding a person to your space, and you're saying, I need to trust myself to open myself to allow this person into my space. And so when you don't have internal trust with yourself, you will, I'm not going to say you might, you will walk into that relationship and create it as a duplex. It is extremely important that we work on ourselves internally, that we build ourselves as our very first house. We create our relationship with ourselves as a house, so that when we walk into a relationship, we're walking into it with a house mentality. And we're not walking into it with a duplex mentality. Where do we come from before we go into that relationship? What happened in the past, we bring forward, and we use those things as the plaster, as the insulation, as the structure of that barrier wall that you have slowly built as the duplex that you are now living in with another person. That is what you must be very cautious of and careful of. So in all, begin to build yourself as a house. Especially to my ladies, because I'm going to always talk to my ladies. Number one, because I'm a lady and I can relate. Where we start to build up that structural wall, that barrier wall, it usually begins way back in our younger years. And all of the things that we're told, all of the things that we felt, the shame that we created within ourselves, the finger pointing that was done to us, the lack of knowledge that we just had because, we weren't talked to as we needed to. We sweep all that up and we carry it with us. And then we meet someone and we immediately start to build that wall that becomes our duplex when we walk into relationships. What we need to do is we need to address all of those things prior to allowing someone into our space. And so I leave you all with this. If you want to ensure that you enter into your relationships as a house versus a duplex, begin with yourself. Create yourself as your house. That house, again, is a open, maneuverable space with temporary doors that can be locked and unlocked. You can get to every part of that structure uninhibitedly. If you have some junk on the floor, you just clean it up to maintain the house. And when you have your house exactly how you like it, nice and clean, smelling like Saturday morning pine sol, then you can allow other people into your house. And you can begin to build relationships in your house. But because you've already cleaned that house and you know exactly how you like it and how it needs to be, when that person enters your house, You're able to set your boundaries. You're able to let this person know your expectations. You're able to let them know the things that you want. They're able to see exactly who you are openly because you have an open space for them to come into. One of the reasons why I was so excited for and I created the Own Your Ish Sis Boot Camp is for that purpose of truly creating, building, and cleaning up your house, ladies. What is that boot camp? The boot camp is 5 weeks, 5 specific pillars of importance that you need to practice on a routine basis of creating, building, and cleaning your house. Your structure, you are the house, so that you don't pile up so much plaster and insulation and material preparing to create a duplex life and relationship with someone else. If you are recognizing and realizing that you are living your relationships in your marriage in a duplex form, contact me. Let's talk more about the boot camp. Let's talk more about getting you into sessions, because we have to get you to the house mentality so you can freely move in, so you can ensure that you're leaning on each other inside of that relationship, the relationship with yourself as well, that you lean on you, that you trust yourself so that you can trust your partner. So I hope that this conversation has sparked some things and got some minds moving around to think about, how am I living my relationships? How am I living that relationship with myself? I encourage you to reach out to me anytime. You can call or text 804-967-4551. You can hit me in my DM. You can message me, email me, or you can go right to the website, kayscompletecare.com, KAYSCOMPLETECARE.com. I am your 360 coach. So I thank you all for joining me tonight for O.P.P Vibe. That is opinions, perspective to make progress. Where we were talking about, is your marriage or relationship a house or a duplex? And feel free, give me some feedback. Let me know, are you living a duplex life or are you living a house life? I'd love to hear from you. You all enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you're not already signed up for Zumba class in the morning, I will be up at 7 a.m. for class if you want to know more about joining that, because as you see, I have my t-shirt on, #NoNewJeans. I am accountable for myself, as we just talked about, and I'm going to lose this COVID. I'm not going to say how many, but I'm going to lose this weight so that I can be the best for myself. Thank y'all for joining. And thank you, Christine. Y'all have a great, great evening. And I will see you all tomorrow night at 9:15 for members only, where we are going to break down episode 2 of the series Sex Life that is on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. We're going to break that down. That room is called Unhealed Sex. 9:15 tomorrow night here on Clubhouse and for community members. All right, y'all. I'll see you next go round. Goodbye.